Everyone, I'm Hussaina Imam. I'm one of the mental plague bloggers. I'll be sharing my thoughts and experiences in the coming months. So please ensure that you follow Menlo Park on LinkedIn and YouTube so you don't miss any of my videos. If you've got any questions for me, please feel free to pop it in the comments below and I'll make sure to answer these in my coming vlog. I would like to talk about mental health and our general well-being, really, because a topic that is very dear to me, and I feel it's something that really needs to be addressed by all trainees. So I'm going to talk about two aspects of this. One is how to make sure our training years go smoothly and as efficient as possible and as stressless as possible. So in the first year, your GPST1, I would say just relax, use the year, a whole year to find out what it is to be a GP trainee. I would say use the 14 fish roadmap as sort of like a template or a worksheet to follow through. Just make sure you're one step ahead of it and you'll be able to sail through your ST1 year and subsequent years smoothly. With the ST2, I would say that's when you need to focus on your AKT. And again, don't fret it. Just be yourself. Find out what you need to do to pass the AKT. A number of us have different reading styles. Just find out what works for you. And depending on your personal circumstances, adjust your reading needs or reading pattern that suits you. And then your ST3 year, that is very, very packed with a lot of activities. Now, how do we take care of ourselves as trainees? I would say sometimes we forget about ourselves, we forget about our personal needs, and we're always there for our patients, our colleagues. Not being able to be patients or colleagues is sort of like a failure. I'm sure a lot of you would, share my belief or feelings towards this because but I want to say it's okay to stop. It's okay to look after yourself. It's okay to allow yourself that time to nurture yourself. Because the thing is, you might want to be a great doctor, you might want to be there for your patients and colleagues, and forget yourself in it. And you find yourself, you're going to burn yourself out, and you don't stop, and you don't stop to realize what is happening. And that's when you crash. And that's not something you would want because you can't be there for yourself or for your loved ones or patients if you're in that state. So it's no wonder why, as part of our reflections or as part of being competent as a GP, is to sort of like work out a good work life balance for ourselves. And we're encouraged to do reflection to see, how we can be safe doctors, how we can give the best quality of care to our patients. So yes, mental health is very, very important. What I would say from my personal experience is just find out what works for you, because what works for you might not necessarily work for other people. Just understand who you are, understand yourself, listen to your body, and respond to the needs of your body. Like, I know it's not surprising because a lot of us do it. For instance, we're running a clinic or we've got that last patient, but we need to quickly take a sip of water or run to the loo, need that needed 1 minute break. But we'll be like, no, we'll just hang on a bit and see the next patient, and it just goes on and on and on. By the time you know it, for the whole shift, you've not looked after yourself, you've not catered for your own needs, your own urgent needs. And that sort of like continues, and that sort of like feeds back into our body negatively, and it builds up, and over time we could go into overdrive. So in order for us to prevent that from happening, I think I would say let's go back to the basics. There's what is called the Maslow's what's it called now, the Maslow's hierarchy of need. Essentially, it just means we need to take care of ourselves, feed ourselves, water ourselves, make ourselves, comfortable. in order to be able to meet our needs and other people's needs. Apart from that, what I would say is pace yourself, okay? Pace yourself and don't carry on too much. Just do little at a time. A good example would be reading for the AKT. We all know that the AKT is a very difficult exam. There's so much width and breadth to it. But I tend to tell myself and other people who would listen that with the AKT or with anything that's challenging or with any increased workload that we've got, it's sort of like good to pace ourselves, because in that way we're functioning at a higher capacity or a better capacity. Um, for instance, now personally, I try not to read for more than an hour in a stretch, 20 minutes, I would say. Because what I do is every 20 minutes of reading, I sort of like look away from my books, look away from the computer and do something that would sort of like boost me or make me feel relaxed. It could be anything. It could be a cup of tea, just something that would take me away from my books, for just few minutes. And then I come back to my books, to the computer, feeling refreshed and yes, ready to carry on. And the same thing sort of like um can be applied to, say, our clinics when we're running clinics. I mean, it's very difficult to sort of like do a bit of housekeeping, it's called, yes, in between patients. But just to have that 1 minute to sort of like be mindful of your current situation, take a deep breath, pause, and then carry on. So I find pacing myself very, very useful and something that I'm sure a lot of people would benefit from. Another thing I'd like to share is the fact that sometimes we can feel overwhelmed and lonely. Again, it depends on our personality. Some people would find ways of, getting the steam off, but for others, it's quite a struggle. For me, for instance, it's quite a struggle because I've got a family, I've got 3 kids, they're a handful, so I've lost myself in that. I barely find a minute to, listen to myself or take care of myself. I'm always giving to patients and my kids and lose myself in it. But I'm beginning to retract all that and begin to find out what works for me and begin to learn myself again to be able to give me that peace of mind, that um, sort of re-energized self to be able to face the world again. For instance, I've taken to the gym. I'm very much aware that my life is full with activities at home, at work, but I just had to make time for the gym. And no regrets, no turning back. And I feel really relaxed. It's like giving me the opportunity to go out of my world and do something different. Another thing I love doing, which probably I shouldn't because it's got financial implications, but I love going to the shops, just window shopping, because it makes me feel happy. I don't know why. So yes, just find out what works for you and try to fit it in um, in your tight schedule. So these are the few tips I've got. I hope you find it useful, and I'll be I'll be more than happy to share more. Do remember to put your comments, and I'll address them in my next vlog. Thank you everyone. Take care. Bye.